Hello, it is me, Joshua. Can you hear me once again? And they're saying right now, yep, well, we got to the end and got a little problem with it. Hold on, pause. Oh, sorry, TV's still loud. Yeah, sorry for a little echo of the TV in there, but here's a little problem with the within in this situation. We know the Russian war in Ukraine so far is failing every day, and I'm not surprised why. Yeah, yeah, they end up. You know what's main base going on right now with the trust support, but the Free Nations are a post-Russian form and right there in Free Nations League at that point. And also they end up like somehow to say no to Sema, which is kind of related to this topic today. Yeah, here's the thing. Ch- Hold on again. Yeah, sorry about that. What was I? Yes. Yeah, you big issues all the way within with China and Taiwan and in US is somehow getting itself involved. If you know all the way from the stories already, and there's something wrong with this, yeah, they gotta cut it out. There we go. And yeah, here's the thing right now. If the United States does invade mainland China, I know they're not only the same freaking allies along, because yeah, it's the point. But in the main issue is at this point, if you're not, it's gonna be heavy probability. It's like I said, if you know history of China for the dynasties and the end of some sort, it did mean for war and deaths is like crazy. Yeah, yeah. You talk about a non-coalition type war and it had caused massive deaths, like massive deaths, and it improves by number, and all already. So I'm gonna show you some like a little bit of huge amount of examples of what might be going on here. The keys to point. Yeah, they're gonna show some examples. One example for sure, and the end I'm saying about this is, well, get ready to say it. Yeah, it's yeah, because of population. Yes, population in China is nuts back then, so and they caused the rising huge in numbers. Yeah, and the other second reason is the last 5 wars in the East China on the mainland are deadly, and I cannot see why. And end up saying, but wait a minute. Well, most are like the gentrification war or some sort of not as deadly. The reason is this is ancient China, so yeah, hell, the population's not even there at the time. So rule that out. And then they just showed a couple of examples, so they had to rule that out there. And then they give you a permissive point. One example: the Ming and Qing transition, which is technically known as the Ming and Qing War. The results over 20 million deaths, and this is in the transition era of dynasties, and this is brutal. Yeah, and yeah, and they end up got Taiping Rebellion. Yeah, Taiping Rebellion. It is a it got 100 million deaths in this war, which is the bloodiest of all time. Which in that results are rebels, not exactly the war that they had to face against the country. So no, rebels, rebels. The only deadliest foreign war is the Second Sino-Japanese War, which is part of World War II. Which take this out of the way for this war because it's not a part of this war in mainland China. The deadliest, I think, is mostly the Opium Wars, which is because over close to 10 million deaths. And this is just a mini prepared of those in full China wars, in my inner China wars. And here's the thing: is how has this being brutal in the first place? I mean, yeah, you know China's been very populated as shit either way. But here's the thing, one though. Yeah, China is. You know, look at the Qing Dynasty and normal China to this day. Well, most of the Chinese are not Chinese. Sorry about that, see? In Mao, yeah, all your Chinese are not Chinese. Let's see why. In northern China, in Manchuria region, Manchus, they were the one that they made the Qing Dynasty, and then it got East Turkmenistan, which is mostly Arabs and even Muslims, and then this makes sense. And they got the Inner Mongolia, or just technically Mongol, the one that they made the Yin Dynasty, if you know all already. And they got Tibet, even though the world is known as Dazaga Empire at the time, which is technically Tibetans. And then to see why. So yeah, Tibetans are Tibet. Duh. They're not China. So yeah. Yeah. In this inner China, North China proper, they're literally head by Han Chinese, and they end up particularly is Han Chinese is technically is China, North inner China, North China proper, in some sort. And yes, it only tells Southern China, Taiwan does not count. Sorry about that. Yeah, Taiwan is technically Formosan. Even didn't know about that. Taiwan is a couple natives known as Formosans, and it's been called as Spanish and Netherlands under the most of the time before the Chinese took over it. It became theirs. The first empire having did that is the Ming Dynasty, which is it gives you the point. Then the Qing can took over all after they left them. Yeah, and after that, there's led by the Republican China to this day. But here's the thing: Taiwan is not even Taiwanese, not Chinese, they're Formosan. If you know for the Taiwan's history. Yeah, so yeah. So yeah. So technically so Taiwan is not China. It's not even not China at all. It's technically Formosan. Not Taiwanese, but Formosan. Yeah, so technically but this is some sort that makes sense. So what's the meaning the cause of this of some sort? Well, there's a Sino-American war, then there might be next war. They're gonna get over 100 million casualties in the whole entire war. Yeah, it might be up to over 100 million to a 200 million casualties war. Because here's the differences: the Qing Dynasty is the made from Manchukuo down. The United States had to go for China proper up, so which is a different situation. Since the history of Chinese dynasties as a whole, they usually compact for north-south, but they end up not south-north. I know this means that I think there's a couple dynasties that try to do that. Problem is, they failed and they reached it far enough. Only couple empires I've done that is the Han Dynasty and the Tang Dynasty. That's it. They never gone. They they never did. Most dynasties in Chinese history is usually covered north south, not south north. So see why? Because of how difficult the environment is. So yeah. So not be surprised that Taiwan takes all of inner China proper, but they have a hard time get up to the northern side, but usually Manchukuo, Yugoslav, and the Mongolian territories, and even Tibet's gonna be is because the terrain there is pretty rough, and then you can see why. It's also bloody too. This is why I'm predicting this Sino-American war. It's gonna be non-nuclear because China's not making the risk going to kill their country because of nukes. I think China will not use nukes. I think the United States is using like a pro North Korea type move, and they just never use nukes on China. And this point is because, like I said, the U.S. use nukes on China, it might be suicide for the Chinese, which is makes sense. So yeah, they're trying to make sense right now to the end of the same contacts. Yep. Yeah, this simple American war is mostly bloody, but mostly by so many things. I'd not be surprised. I'd not be surprised in the end I have towards. Yeah, they have. I don't know that China might use illegal weapons and they have some sort, but the problem is China has a issue to the end up. Because, like I said, if I Taiwan or some sort, you literally have a higher chance to get friendly fire. Friendly fire is common against Chinese issues back then. Because you literally have a horde of Chinese from both sides, and you literally do not know which Chinese is which. Inside of this, which easily cause friendly fire, which is an issue that the main and afraid that might happen. Friendly fire, the monster might also cause People's Republic of China and now another downfall because of this. Because the only downfall already is since their downfall's already been goes back in the revolution 1989, and they try to revive from that, being huge failures prepared to the regimes to the history of China itself. Yeah, it's all you've seen already. This is know what I'm talking about.